Here's a very instructive position. It was reached by one of my students this past week, and I wanted to use it for an online lesson. Now, let me introduce this lesson by saying that we amateurs tend to embrace a false dilemma in our approach to chess. A false dilemma is a logical fallacy that assumes there can be only one of two possible choices. Well, in chess, there are three possible outcomes: a win, a loss, or a draw. Amateurs often make the mistake of always playing for a win when there may not be a win available. And in chess, sometimes it's best to simply settle for the draw. Now, to add to the problem, you may be familiar with the pawn square rule. We have a passed pawn on b4, and we draw the square of the pawn, and note that our opponent's king is not in the square. If the defender's king is not in the square of the pawn square rule teaches that the pawn can outrun the king to the promotion square. And for that reason, my student played pawn to b3 and ended up losing the game, because he failed to realize that the pawn square rule applies to both sides of the board. And in this example, our opponent has a pawn that's closer to promotion, and our king is not in his square either. Furthermore, he has a second passed pawn connected to the first, and so we're in a bit of hot water if we don't defend against these pawns. So we have to choose one of these. Making it even more complicated, it is actually a loss if you play the king to e8 because of the proximity of his king. Let me just illustrate that on king e8, pawn h6, and on king f8, we might tell ourselves that we've accomplished our purpose, for if pawn h7, we play king g7, or if pawn g7, we play king g8. Our problem is that his king can come in and form a mating net. Yes, that moves out of the square of our pawn, and we can push to promotion, but you're not going to be able to enjoy your new queen, because this is checkmate. In fact, we're going to under-promote just to rub your nose in it. So going back, we realize that we really need to identify the continuation. And let's put our king here. It's generally better to put your king toward the center anyway. Now let's play this against the computer and see if we can hold the draw. The bot plays h6. That forms the square of the pawn here. We must step into it or we're lost. And now we just stay in the square of this pawn. And now we just blockade his pawns. Note that if he ever came down here, we'd push back and forth all day and half the night until a draw is reached, either by repetition or by the 50-move rule. And there you go. I hope this was a help to you. Until next time, have a great day and play some great chess. Bye now.